Let me tell you something that really should enrage you, to show you the cooperation between the orange bastard in the White House and Brett Kavanaugh, to begin with, the drunk, and Neil Gorsuch, and pretty soon Justice Barrett. But here's how they coordinate and work together. And if you think, once you listen to what I'm going to tell you, if you think that's just idle bullshit conspiracy theory, okay. But here's the thing. First of all, the new Postmaster General, whatever that prick's name was, the first thing he did once he was appointed by Trump was disable the post office's ability to handle mail-in balloting. And the son of a bitch disables it at a time when so many people need to use mail-in balloting because of the Trump coronavirus that is killing tens of thousands of Americans per week, even as we sit here and talk about it. At a time when mail-in balloting is desperately needed, Trump and his filthy Postmaster General dismantle. And I mean that literally. They have machines removed, sorting machines, dismantled, taken apart, stored in I don't know where, thrown into dumpsters, people fired, supervisors removed, procedures changed, anything to totally cripple the U.S. Postal Service. Okay, now that's bad enough. But there was a Supreme Court decision on Monday this week that ties perfectly into what Trump and his criminal Postmaster General have done. And that was the decision on Monday that bars the counting of mail-in ballots in Wisconsin that arrive after Election Day. So if you are mailing in, and the word is out now, I think as of yesterday, stop, don't mail in because it'll never get there in time. What a goddamn thing to say to people who rely on the mail to vote. But this is how fascism comes together. This is how it works. You dismantle the operating parts of a democracy. You take it apart, you trash it, you throw it away. And you apply the principles of fascism, top, down, complete, total control. And what do you wind up with? We're going to find out very soon, aren't we, truth seekers? In a concurring opinion, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the drunk, as reported by the New York Times, set off alarms among civil rights and Democratic Party lawyers who viewed that decision, and it only applies to Wisconsin now, but other states can now glom onto that, but giving public support to Trump's arguments that any results counted after November 3rd could be riddled with fraudulent votes, which is an assertion that is bullshit. It is total bullshit, totally unsupported by the history of elections in this country. Total bullshit. But this is what Trump and the neo-fascist broadcast sewer led by the filthy Fox, this is what they're putting out there for consumption. And this is what the people who attend these super spreader rallies around this orange bastard are now chanting. Shit like to close the post office or stop the mail-ins or don't count the votes. Where the fuck do we live? Excuse me. Sorry. Now, this decision, according to the Times, also unnerved Democrats and local election officials in Pennsylvania, where Republicans there are asking the Supreme Court to weigh in again on whether the state of Pennsylvania can accept ballots received up to 3 days after Election Day. It's not Democrats that are saying this, it's Republicans. And while the Democrats in Wisconsin had been appealing for an extension so the votes could be counted, the current rules in Pennsylvania allow for ballots to arrive 3 days after the election and still be counted. And that's what the Republicans are trying to destroy, because any change could threaten the more than 1.5 million absentee ballots that so far have not yet been returned. Do you understand this? Do you understand? We look at Trump as an ignorant, savage, stupid son of a bitch, which he is. But where it concerns this ploy to change the United States into a fascist country, Trump understands perfectly what he's doing, as do the people, the scum, the filth, the slime around him, who are also working to establish fascism, along with the Republican enablers in the House and the Senate, led by Mitch McConnell. We are watching our country be dismantled, our system of self-governance. Well, when the shit hits the fan, as it is going to, I shouldn't say that right now, but I know where I will be, and I know what I will be doing. Now, the ruling was 5-3, big surprise there, at the Supreme Court against the deadline extension in Wisconsin. And what was the request to the Supreme Court? Just allow us to count the votes that people cast. Allow us to acknowledge the primary, underlying, essential, existential function of a democracy, and that is that the will of the people in decisions like this be honored and be final. And the Supreme Court, under these 5 Nazi son of a bitches, said, sorry, no. And this never would have come up had Trump and his fascist, ignorant Postmaster General not have dismantled, disrupted, taken apart the United States Postal Service. Oh, goddamn, this is just so infuriating. I don't know how it affects you. I don't know how much attention you focus on this. But I spend the better part of a day, every day, becoming more and more and more aware of what is happening. And then I bring it to you and I talk about it. And it leaves me with a feeling of just absolute rage that right now has no place to go. But eventually will. That rage will either dissipate as I see fascism defeated in this country, or it will become the impetus for me to take action. Me personally, just little old tiny insignificant me. And in his opinion that was attached to that 5-3 ruling against the deadline extension in Wisconsin, the drunk Justice Kavanaugh wrote that Election Day mail-in deadlines were devised, quote, to avoid the chaos and suspicions of impropriety that can ensue if thousands of absentee ballots flow in after Election Day and potentially flip the results of an election, end quote. Let me say that again. I'm ruling this way, is what the Kavanaugh was saying, to avoid the chaos and suspicions of impropriety that can ensue if thousands of absentee ballots flow in after Election Day and potentially flip the results of an election. You son of a bitch, you drunk. What do you mean flip the results of an election. The results are not known, you drunk bastard, until every vote is counted. Don't we remember that from the 2000 election and what happened in Florida? That after the United States Supreme Court told the Florida Supreme Court, stand down, you bunch of yokels, no more vote counting in Florida, because to do so would jeopardize George W. Bush. And then after Al Gore, in the interest, I guess, of avoiding chaos, formally withdrew. And a couple of months later, when the New York Times, the Washington Post, whoever was involved, did an actual vote count and found out that Al Gore had won. And what could have been avoided in the 8 years that George W. Bush committed war crime after war crime, established torture as part of American foreign policy, invaded another country and that resulted in the death of up to 2 million people, civilians, for Christ's sake. Supposing Al Gore would not have been stopped in assuming the presidency by the United States Supreme Court. And now these son of a bitches are doing it again. Only this time they are much more sophisticated in this drive to fascism. This time, they dismantle the post office first, and then have their swine, their particularly selected by Trump members of the Supreme Court rule that, oh, the post office has been dismantled. Tough shit. We can't run the risk that thousands of absentee ballots flowing in after Election Day could potentially flip the results of an election, when there is no result of an election until all the votes are counted. But that one sentence should show anyone who's paying attention how totally fascistic and what a dumb son of a bitch this drunk Kavanaugh is. Dumb because he now expects all of us, and this is what's happening, will accept his concurring opinion as being factual and correct and sensible. Yeah, that's right. Well, we can't have a bunch of votes coming in to flip the election. But it's the votes that determine the election results. How much more of this can you stand, Truth Seeker? I ask myself that question at least once a day. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.